The NCSC report that one mentioned talks about a Ray initiator persistent multi-stage bootkit that facilitates the deployment of Line Viper to the Cisco ASA devices without secure boot. One thing that's missing in all of this is victimology. Do we have a sense of like who the targets are, where the victims are,
I mean, it
what are
seems
they?
to be every fucking person that's running one of these appliances, which includes a lot of the government, right? Like, there's a reason the UK NCSC and CISA are both involved, and there's like probably, 5 or 6 different US organizations that are kind of in the middle of this. But basically anybody who's running any one of these like 5500 version things might as well consider themselves popped. They may never know because if they got a call from their friendly Cisco support person, they may have wiped them out.
Wiped it.
Frankly,
Yeah.
okay, so when we start
But
talking
the
about like
malware
how,
is also doing a lot of this. The malware is
oh
also
yeah,
doing a lot of like just crashing and
on
disrupting itself. Yeah.
purpose, like they're
Yeah, yeah.
incredibly careful about like not only just not getting caught, but also not like leaving the thing there to get caught, right? When you read the thing, if you read it carefully, there's a line about how even tab auto completion will essentially trigger this thing to like remove itself. So you're like, if you go in there and type, you need to like very carefully single finger peck this thing, right? And not tab autocomplete. But we've been hearing about things like that, even in the reports of like coat hanger and things like that, where you would go, hey, if you try to use any of these tools that you would normally do to like dump a core or to kill a process or whatever, then the thing is just going to disinfect itself. And what it's speaking to is the platform discussion that we were having earlier. The issue here is there was no need to be that sophisticated on appliances. Now everybody's becoming aware that there's an issue with appliances, except the appliance vendors who are not interested in actually stepping up the security posture and capabilities and visibility of the appliance, the platforms themselves. However, there's more people paying attention to them. So the attackers are leveraging the fact that the platforms themselves are not becoming any more secure or capable or friendly to incident responders to then basically screw over any incident responder that tries to, because essentially what they're doing is like tamper proofing them, right? If you go in and you try to get clever, the thing is going to disinfect itself, and the platform itself has no mechanism by which you can actually do what you do. And I think this is one of those very interesting situations, more than the iPhone one that we usually talk about, because this is a giant fucking piece of hardware that you have sitting somewhere. And this is an area where, not in the existing ones, but given the production cycles, you can leverage the fact that you have physical access to these devices to provide different capabilities on the hardware than you would from a software perspective. You tell me that you can't secure the software, that it's just impossible, that it's just an old stack, or whatever the hell you want to do. But if you gave me a debug port on this thing, short of whatever sort of JTagging somebody's going to have to do to like go in there and pull stuff out of this device that you're not supposed to pull out of it. Like, there are ways that Cisco and other vendors could be providing greater capabilities to the people who own these things. They just don't they don't seem to care to. And part of it is that Microsoft versus Apple mentality of, well, let's think about security posture, right? Microsoft has spent 20 years fighting on security, sometimes fighting the security community, sometimes fighting the threat actors, but always fighting on security. Apple has done none of it, non publicly for many, many years. What is the perception? Well, Apple devices are secure, Microsoft devices are completely insecure. I think you have a similar sort of takeaway from a lot of the appliance vendors and other like devices that don't currently have security as a topic of conversation or a topic of as a thing on the sheet when you go buy the product, and they go, well, we really don't want it to be put on there, so just shut your mouth. But I don't see how we can get past this short of having some other player come into the space and say, hey, I'll sell you a VPN appliance, you can inspect it and do whatever the fuck you want with it. And moreover, I'm going to facilitate you inspecting it as much as you want because these other people won't let you. Like, that seems to be the differentiator that's missing in the space. Because I do want all these people to kind of to feel it, right? Like they're being irresponsible with their customers in a way that's literally screwing over national security. What is the boundary at that point?
Costin, what do you make of the NCSC report? Did you get Yarrow rules, IOCs? I mean, did you get some value from that document?
Um, by the way, it's a huge report. Because of Virus Bulletin, I admit I didn't have the time to go like fully through it, but yeah, it has Yara rules, it has a lot of things. And it was interesting, by the way, that this week actually, I noticed there was a hit on Virus Total for Line Dancer. And I was thinking like Line Dancer, what's that? Like I couldn't remember. I don't think that I've seen hits for Line Dancer in months, maybe ever since I put the rule there, and I was thinking like, what is line dancer? For a moment, I was thinking, is it like related to face dancer, which is another thing that we're not gonna discuss now, and obviously should not be ever discussed
Ever.
because, yeah, it's too dark. But like leaving face dancer to the side, but talking about line dancer, I was like, what is line dancer? So I wonder if someone is actually uploading some line dancer samples to VirusTotal. So one of the things I want to do is just to try to look a bit more into that, including with the Yara rules from the new NCSC report, but also with the old rules for line dancer. There should be some new samples on VirusTotal that hit this week.
I just wanted to bring attention to another thing. Is like, and we talked about this, Juanito. You and I have talked about this at length. Is whenever secure boot bypasses come up, they kind of get dismissed as, yeah, well, you already have physical access to the device, or you need admin access to do this. And some of the vendors try to say, well, if you have to use a screwdriver to do anything, then maybe it's not a vulnerability. But now you start to see why these secure boot bypasses and these bits of research are important. I just got to spend some time with Fabio from Binarly at LabsCon, and they were talking about like root of trust bypass in supermicro BMCs and doing some really incredible research. But they always seem to be minimized.
It gets downplayed. Yeah.
Downplayed is the word I'm looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's funny because essentially what it all gets downplayed to is, well, we already have a solution for this, which is secure boot. So you should have secure boot enabled. And I think in this particular case,
but even there, it doesn't really matter because there are routine bypasses for all the modern flavors of secure boot.
That's the egregious thing about all of this being turned into, well, those don't have secure boot, but others have secure boot, so just have secure boot, and then we don't need to talk about this. You're like, well, it was the same malware that was being used without the, it was a similar malware that was being used without the bootkit loader. If you're telling me that secure boot just kind of handles the bootkit, what are we doing about the malware itself? What exactly is any of this sort of telling me that I'm supposed to, think more securely or comfortably or whatever about the in-memory toolkit that is being used to do all of this PCAP capturing, right? Like part of the issue in this operation, right? Like we keep talking about sort of the poor Cisco response and sort of the general chaos around it. But what makes this even more concerning is it's very similar, Kosin, if you remember, to how we worked on the Moonlight Maze stuff, where you had folks deploying sniffers on devices that were being used to have access, to have other organizations access, or to move from one org to the other. And part of the issue was that would enable folks to take those creds and then use that access to themselves pivot onto these other organizations. And you have a similar situation happening here with this, where these appliances are the malware is able to do PCAP captures. You're watching for other folks that are sort of that are connecting in there and then leveraging those connections however you want to move on to other places. So how do you assess whether you are the extent of the impact when it comes to this thing, when part of that problem is going to be how much it enables you to like traverse from one point to another beyond just whatever's infected with this particular piece of malware?
Just want to say one thing is that you may overlook the gravity, I don't know, the seriousness of this compromises, thinking like some Cisco device, like VPN device, got compromised. That means nothing. In reality, based on what I've seen in my experience, the moment that this gets compromised, the whole thing is owned. Like it's game over.
Right.
Like from there to the main admin, it's a matter of hours,
Right.
things like that. It's just
Yeah.
game over.
Anything else on this report? I always get excited when the bootkit has been found in the wild. I think there's a
Right.
lot more of this sitting around there. People just not looking, don't know how to look, don't have the data to sift through. And whenever I see a bootkit popping up in the wild that isn't like a university research project, I feel like, okay, we have a
Mhm.
little more visibility. So from my standpoint, I mean, I'm grateful that Cisco and the NCSC was able to come out and say, "Hey, this stuff is happening. We know it's happening. There's an actor here caught doing it at scale. Fully patch this ASA firmware affected in enterprise networks. CISA shipping an emergency directive, basically telling federal agencies, listen, rip or patch this thing immediately." So, I mean, kudos to them. I mean, of course, it could be done better, but I don't know. Any
Kudos to
meat
the
left on the bones of these
Chinese.
stories?
Kudos
What,
to the
what,
Chinese on this one. Well fucking played, guys. Some slick shit. Well done. We're all clearly a fucking mess on this side of the house. We're not doing anything to really stop or properly manage this. And I'd love for somebody to just run the census query that lets us know all of the US government, UK government, Canadian government, etc. organizations that are all pop with this shit. Because, to see this kind of coordinated response coming out and a proper analysis coming out of these folks is because it's relevant to national security in a variety of
everyone.
different places. So I'm not giving Cisco any kudos anytime soon. They're not okay in my book, in Kosten's book, which I have borrowed. But more than anything, I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed anytime our vendors stand with the threat actors in not allowing defenders to somehow improve the situation, right? Like that's when you're putting business bullshit over people's security. And I'm sad that the market doesn't provide some legitimate alternative or regulatory mechanism by which customers can be like, yo, what the fuck? But I we don't forget, right? Like people are still saying fuck Okta to this day. I will wait to see what happens with Cisco on this one. They were the chosen ones. They're not acting as the chosen ones. And if that's the case, then I don't know who's got a fledgling appliance business sitting around here somewhere, but please, for the love of Christ, get us off this carnival wheel.